We are joined now by NBC senior national correspondent Kate Snow and our NBC political analyst, former Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill, Rich Lowry, editor of National Review. Good morning, all. So it seems, Kate, and you have spent a lot of time in this upper Midwest, industrial Midwest, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Yeah.
That's feeling like that's where the story's going to be again.
It is feeling like where it's going to be. And I have to tell you, I've been in areas like eastern Ohio, where President Trump was strong in 2016, and we were wondering when we were there, would he be strong again? We went to Lordstown, Ohio, which is in Trumbull County, eastern Ohio, near the Pennsylvania border. And the thing that's interesting there, Lordstown, if you remember the story about GM, and they closed down the GM Lordstown plant, it was a big story last year, 2019, that plant went away. All those jobs went away. So for voters there, a lot of it was about jobs, and not just the GM plant going away, but new jobs coming in. So Lordstown Motors bought that factory and is now about to produce an electric pickup truck, which doesn't even exist in this country yet. So there's some more jobs, not as many as there once were, but some more. So we found this real split. I talked to the mayor, and I want to play you some sound of the mayor talking about why he was very much for President Trump and felt like a lot of voters there that President Trump had done a lot to bring back more jobs.
And we've had a drain of jobs here for 40 years, and you won't get them all replaced in 4 years, but maybe in 8 years we may get a pretty good jump on it.
So the mayor said to me last week, I think a week and a half ago, that he thought that this would be a win. The county would go, Trumbull County would go for President Trump again. Well, last night, 10 points for President Trump, which is a bigger margin than what he had in 2016. So I know Chuck has spoken to this, but this idea that some places have become even more Trump country than they once were.
Well, let's go to Claire McCaskill. Hey, Claire, it's Hoda here. What happened? Like, I think a lot of people are waking up this morning and we're wondering or expecting to see maybe Biden take Florida. There was talk of Texas. And I think they're waking up this morning wondering, were the polls wrong? Like, what do you think happened?
Well, I think a number of things happened. First, our country remains incredibly divided and very polarized. And so I think the Democrats, and I will put me in that group, were overconfident that everyone felt the way we did about this president. The polling clearly was off badly, because not only is this election much closer than anyone predicted, but it also was not a great night for Democrats across the board. I mean, we expected big gains in the House. We expected to take the Senate. We didn't get big gains in the House, and the Senate is still in question, but the chances look dim.
Well, what do you say about that, Claire? Because, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of folks sitting at home saying, hey, all I've been seeing are these polls that show Democrats ahead. It was going to be a big night for Democrats. Frankly, as I was discussing with Casey, Republicans thought that too. Yeah. So, you know, from the Democrats' perspective, what went wrong?
Well, I have to believe this has to do with the American people, a large swath of them, more than I ever realized, accept this guy's behavior. They've gotten comfortable with the, I call it the outrage fatigue, him breaking norms, campaigning in the White House, lying a lot. And they've looked past all that, and he has convinced them, right or wrong, he's convinced them that somehow he's going to be the one that protects their income, the economy, the creation of jobs. And I think that's what won the day yesterday. And his behavior, which we all thought was disqualifying for the president of the greatest country on the earth, but evidently not so much. Now, I still believe he's not going to be president for another 4 years. I still believe that we will win this election, but this only was a wake-up call.
Rich, let me ask you, because you wrote a really interesting article in the National Review, I guess about a week ago, and you said if Trump wins, if he's able to prevail, it will be because Americans have just basically said it was the only way they could rebel against what you call, and you are a conservative writer, this kind of left elite culture, that it would be about the culture above all other issues. Is that how you're seeing it still?
Yeah, I think that has to be a huge element of it. a key theory of Trump and his team was that there's a silent majority out there. Now, it's not a silent majority literally, but it's a silent plurality that might be enough to get him to 270 again. And it's folks that some of them were ducking and covering. They weren't talking to pollsters, and they were deeply uncomfortable with things that were happening in the country all year long, from the disorder to the cancellations. And they were there again for this president and for the GOP more broadly. There was a Republican surge across the board in the United States of America that was missed by most of the polls and that was missed by the pundits. And just to think, again, we've basically, I don't know whether Trump's going to win, but we've experienced a kind of 2016 once again, which everyone thought would have been impossible. And we even had the equivalent of the Access Hollywood tape, which in 2016 seemed something that Trump couldn't possibly recover from. That the equivalent of that this time around was him getting COVID, where his polls tanked, Republicans around the country, their numbers tanked. It wasn't just the public polls and the media polls, it was internal Republican polls showed everyone taking a dive. And amazingly enough, the president recovered. And a big element of it, and I think this is something Democrats have to think about, Joe Biden, I think, was overly passive. And this wouldn't have happened if Trump hadn't been so active, if he hadn't had those big rallies, and if he hadn't especially invested so much in a traditional get-out-the-vote operation. Biden was investing in TV. The Trump team was investing in door-knocking, in phone calls, in turning their voters out. And they did it in an extraordinary way.
Well, Rich, I appreciate that you're always a straight shooter. I wonder what you thought of the president's comments last night, because, look, as we've just been discussing, this is a very lively, still going presidential race. There's no need for anyone to declare victory yet. The president may just win it fair and square. What did you think about him coming out and saying, oh, it's been stolen from me, I already won it, I'm going to sue? Did that seem unnecessary?
Yeah, unnecessary. One, it's the kind of thing you do when you're losing, and I don't think they believe that they're losing. And it was just irresponsible for a president of the United States. Obviously, all I had to say is, look, we shocked the world. We think we're on the right path, and I'm going to vigorously protect my interest in the courts if it comes to that. And I think you saw, Savannah, the discomfort of some folks around Trump with this tack through the fact that Mike Pence, when he stepped up to the podium right after the president, he didn't say, oh, we won, guys. He said we're on the path to victory, which is the more conventional way to put it, and it would have been better if the president said that as well. Hey,
Rich, when you look at our map that we have up right now, we've got Biden with 224 electoral votes. We've got Trump with 213. What are your people saying? Like, what states do you think Trump is going to take, and do you think he can take this whole thing?
Well, it just is a mix and match game at this point. And, if Trump wins Arizona and Georgia, then he just needs one of the blue walls. If he loses one of those, he needs two. Loses both, he needs three, and/or Nevada, which is another piece of the puzzle. So he's close, but it's probably going to take a couple days to figure this out, as everyone's noted.
Stand by there. Chuck, I had a question because I was thinking about the 2016 polls being way off, the 2020 polls appearing to be way off. The 2018 midterms. Now, there's a time where the polls seem to basically get it right. They predicted that Democrats would have big gains in the Congress. Sure enough, they did. Yeah. Is the X factor here Donald Trump?
Has to be.
When Donald Trump is on the ballot, pollsters just still don't know how to capture the Trump voter in a poll?
It is, look, and in fairness, in 2018, there was the blue wave in the House. But if you recall, the Republicans gained a Senate seat. Yeah. Now, it was a terrible Senate map for Democrats. It was a really, it was sort of a red-leaning Senate map, certainly for Republicans. But that's an important point. And the fact is, the polls did miss. I mean, ask Claire McCaskill. There was the polls struggled in. I think where there is a significant chunk of this Trump base, where there's significant rural vote, this is where the pollsters are struggling. One of our polling teams, our state polling teams, identified one of the problems that's there. It's a technical issue when it comes to polling these rural counties, and it's there. But the real issue is it costs real money to do it right, and it's really expensive to do it right, I think. And nobody is spending that money. But we're not figuring out how to poll these rural counties better. I think they're all not. We are not accounting for enough of this Trump vote. It's like it just keeps showing up. I remember in 2016 we kept saying, so in Florida, no matter how her turnout went, his turnout in the rural areas was there, and that's what we saw here. It was a little more sporadic this time. There were places where Biden did pick off some of his. So this is why I'm saying this isn't a blue wave. This isn't a red wave. This is basically a brick. We're meeting at 270. Somebody's going to end up with a little bit more. But this is, in the Electoral College is concerned. And look at the popular vote. I mean, it's going to end up being maybe 3.5 points. It's not going to be 10.
It was all calm and quiet at the polling places, I was thinking, and I woke up this morning and everyone was wondering because things are boarded up. It's calm and quiet. And Claire, I guess I was just wondering, how are you guys conveying to people this is going to be a long slog for people? And the one thing we all need, all of us need, is to be calm and to wait until these votes are counted. Is there a way that you guys are communicating with people?
Well, I think what everyone should try to focus on is that we have a rule of law for this situation. Now, obviously, the president doesn't have the same kind of view of the law as our country typically has embraced, but the law is there. The courts will make decisions if, in fact, this comes down to legal battles. Lawyers will argue. The Supreme Court will ultimately decide. And I just hope people have patience in the institutions that America has always been proud of, even if Donald Trump doesn't necessarily respect them.
Senator McCaskill, when you look at this map this morning, and I'm giving you the 6 a.m. truth serum, what is giving you pause? What's worrying you this morning about the results that are coming in?
Well, I think obviously we're worried about Pennsylvania because the margin there is difficult in terms of all the votes. There's millions of votes to be counted still, no question. I actually feel very comfortable about both Nevada and Arizona. I feel very comfortable about Wisconsin and Michigan. The question is, what happens with the remaining three? And but I actually believe that there will be some states that there'll be legal skirmishes because I think it's going to be that close.
Well, I mean, I don't have the map memorized like my friend Chuck does, but Rich, I believe if Biden could hold on to Wisconsin and Michigan, pick up Arizona, and we've already projected that he's going to pick up that single-digit electoral vote in Nebraska, that would get him, I think, to 270 on the dot, negating Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Right. So if Biden wins Arizona and Nevada and doesn't get Georgia, Trump needs more than Pennsylvania. And it seems to me, I'm no Chuck Todd either, although I did like Chuck take a nap, a 45-minute nap a little bit earlier.
Look better than I do,
More
Rich.
than Pennsylvania. And it seems like of those three, as was kind of projected, Pennsylvania is probably the one where Trump is in the strongest position. But it could be, if Biden wins Arizona, that Pennsylvania is not enough. And it'll be really close, and he would need Michigan to get to 270 and that, or Wisconsin. We need one more, not just Pennsylvania.
All right. Well, no sleep for the weary. Everybody's just got to stand by because there are millions of votes to be counted, many, many states to be called. We continue to watch it.